two parts. One is data or numbers, some kind of number. And you have to have documentation of his or her growth. So how would you document a student's growth in English language? How would you do that second one, document? Yeah, collecting their portfolio, but what would you look at in their portfolio? Data and document. How would you document their learning? You don't, Euros, thank you. How would you document a student's development?
Maybe to gather information.
What information?
But
How old is he? How old is his father? How much money does he have? Data means I document from the beginning, from one day, say September 1st, until November 1st.
Knowledge.
How well they're doing. So you change the test, one test, the same test, once, and then 2 months later you give them the same test again. In theory, they should do better the first time or the second time? Oh, yes. If I taught him anything, he should have a higher score the second time. That's how you document growth. Just like you think of his height, a child grows bigger and bigger, right? In January, he's this tall, and they grow so fast. On the wall, you put a line, exactly, just where. Same thing with language. You put the same wall, the test, yeah, twice. You give him the same test in September as you give him in November.
Before starting the lesson, yes? Before starting, you give them test,
Yeah.
and after finishing, you will give them one more time.
Beautiful.
An exact test.
Yes. Entrance and exit testing is a good example, sure. So that's documentation. Now the first one is data. Keeping a diary, yeah, maybe not. Data, numbers. A
Percentages.
diary is not a number. Yeah, a diary's good, but it's not a number. What's
Number
it?
of right answers.
How many words did he write in his diary? Maybe on day one he wrote 10 words. He could write one sentence or 2 sentences. But 2 months later, you say, please write in your diary, he can write a longer answer, yeah? So you count the number of words. Not perfect, but it's a way. It's data and it's documented. Clear?
So portfolio can be a document assessment?
Many, yes. That's one of thousands. We love, it's very sexy now, very sexy. This bit on e-portfolio, right? I love it, and it's great, but be careful of Band-Aid. It's a Band-Aid, be careful. Yeah, very good. I'm glad you brought it up, thank you. Yeah,
You can do a survey graph.
a survey graph, yeah, you can.
As a document, yes?
Yes, you can, yes, you can. Barack Obama. Yeah, you can. You can do all of those things, and we're going to keep talking about ways of doing this. Assessment is your big friend for the next 72 hours. Assessment is your best friend. Assessment. Data, document. Right? Second word on our list, there is a new one for some. Nilufar?
There's 3 of them.
The
There's
second
7 of
word,
them.
Summative assessment. Can you read the definition for us?
A test
Second.
Assess that aims to measure or summarize what the student has learned at the end of a unit of instruction.
At the end.
Yeah.
Sum. Like sum 2 plus 2 plus 2 is 6. Yeah. Sum. Summative at the end. Finally. Thank you. Yes. Next one. Gulamjan. Formal assessment.
Formative assessment. Ongoing assessment that provides information needed to adjust teaching and learning while they are happening. It informs both teachers and learners so that adjustments can be made.
Really tough, yeah. This is what teachers do in their sleep and all day in the class, right? Adjusting their teaching to meet the needs of the learners. So I'm doing the activity with the drawing with Clara. I realize Clara, she doesn't know the left and right. She doesn't know. So I just ignore it because it's my assessment and I don't care if she knows left and right. No way. I stop. And I teach her left and right. Because
I'm left-handed.
you have to know that language, yeah? It's important language. So you stop your teaching in order to help the student learn important language. Thank you, Gulisha. Diora, next one.
Assessment that provides information needed to adjust teaching and learning while they are happening. It warns both teachers and learners so that adjustments can be made.
I think we did that one. Okay, let's skip. I'm gonna go to somebody else because I keep, Mahfuza. Finally, sorry.
First time for.
I'm sorry, I know, I appreciate your
Formal
cooperation.
assessment.
Systematic planned procedures constructed to give a teacher and students an idea of student achievement. Usually a score or grade is assigned.
What do you think?
It's systematic. You plan after a week. Each
Yes.
week maybe you will do
Yes.
assessing, or you will evaluate at the end of the week, kind of.
Sure, sure.
Systematic.
Sure,
It's
assessment,
like a chain.
it's like a change, it's systematic. And we don't tell the student we're giving him a test, right? It's a secret? I personally find that to be very offensive. I usually tell teachers to tell the students, you're gonna have a quiz, you're gonna have a test. A pop quiz is fine, like your module assignments. They have low stakes, very small. But a test, to put the kid in a position that he didn't know, he's gonna have a test. For me, this is not a good idea, but you have to do it the way you want.
Is it like a part of summative assessment?
Yeah. Part of a regular weekly test. The students know. On Thursdays, we have vocabulary quiz, 10 words. The teacher always does it. It's okay. Yeah. And it's summative because they've had a whole week, maybe more, to learn these words, for example. There are many more words. We'll finish this list, but I want you to know that we're going to be adding so many words. And I would invite you, I'm not going to let anyone erase this, because this is you guys. This is your signature, in a way, and it's the stuff of which you are made. And I want to keep this in our minds as we continue to talk today, just like the gals who gave me the questions for this module. This is really what came out of your mouths and your brains, so I don't want to lose it. Next one, yeah, Oigo.
Go with music.
Wow, she got a phone call at the same moment. That's incredible.
Go with assessment unplanned feedback to help students improve. Usually does not receive a
Very different from what you usually do. Informal assessment. Remember we talked about self-assessment,
Yeah.
peer feedback, and teacher evaluation? Those first two are good examples of this informal assessment that helps students so much. Just like when you were doing that activity with the small papers, you're correcting each other. No, don't do it like that, try that. Yeah, it's not the teacher telling him his verb tense is wrong. It's his friend telling him that what he's trying to do, he can help him to do it better in English. And by the way, these are all done in English language. We don't do this activity in English. I mean, you could.
It could be out of class, out of by teacher.
Really?
For example, you give informal feedback about student, not during the process teaching, but
I see.
out of class.
Sure, or
What to
in,
do and what what.
To guide him,
Yeah.
yeah.
How to guide.
Sure. Yeah, sure.
For me, American public schools, which type of assessment is used?
It's a mess.
Miss?
Yeah, it's a mess. American public education has gone through great trauma over the last 2 years. You know trauma?
Yeah.
Terrible because of COVID. And because of the politics. And because of the vaccine and the schools open and close, open and close, open and close. I'm not gonna get a vaccine that's against my rights. All of these things have created chaos for teachers. Chaos meaning that they have to teach, they teach online, on Zoom or something. And while they're teaching online, there's a camera right here on me. You're getting tired, go get a coffee. Or I have to teach face to face, you're sitting in front of me. Some of the students don't come. Some of the students are here. The teacher is like we say the peanut butter in the sandwich. And so and then there's a recording of the class, a video, and those go out to students who just didn't feel like going on the Zoom and didn't feel like coming to the school. Come on, how you live in this environment, it's a joke. So it's a very good question, and I invite you to read my new book, which is hopefully going to be signed with a contract, called Teacher Education in a Changing World. It's, we just sent the proposal. It is so hard for teachers now. Teacher Education in Changing World. Yeah, I'll tell you more about that another time. But what's happening is the teachers are teaching online, they're testing online, they're teaching face-to-face, they're testing face-to-face, and they're testing and teaching with, not in real time. So the kid looks at the recording, he fills out his quiz, he sends it to Google Classroom, and the teacher sees it 2 weeks later. So it's insane what's happening, is the short answer. It is democracy gone wild or something, I'm not sure what kind of color.
Sounds like a TV show.
It is a TV show. I'm sure it will be a TV show, a very successful one. Quick question. We do formative and summative assessment of kids. We have something called SOL, Standards of Learning. And it's not every year, but 4th grade, 7th grade, 10th grade. Kids take a test called Standards of Learning. It's really Egypt in 1955, but that's what they're doing. They give kids a test. So a kid comes from Mexico with his father over the border. He sits in Texas for about 2 months, and then he gets sent to Virginia by the U.S. Border Patrol. And he goes to Virginia, and he goes to school, and he's in 4th grade. And they say, please, sit down and take this test in English. Not only is he traumatized from his life experience, et cetera, it's absurd. And then he gets labeled as having a learning disability because he can't take the test. Of course he can't take the test. So there's many problems. But only to say many good teachers are helping some very brilliant kids to get through this crazy system. And the system is against them, not with them. It should be supporting them. But teachers and students in the U.S. are suffering a lot right now. Thank you for your question.
Could I add one thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I've worked in a school in New York where all the students were immigrants. And it's a very different kind of school than other schools where I've worked where a few are immigrants and most of them were born in America. And the main difference is that when you have a student where everyone is immigrated, it's actually a specialized school where they have specialized assessments. So we're not following all of the same assessments from the state. We have to do it in different ways using projects, and there's a whole other approach. But a lot of other students, like Liz was saying, are just, a minority in their school. And they just, they just do all the tests and all the standard ways of assessing learning. And those young people are less likely to finish school, less likely to succeed. So I just wanted to share, it's called International Schools. And it's a whole movement in the US, but it's different than international here. It's an international schools movement. Just wanted
I have a question for
very quickly because our time is short. Thank you. So we'll finish the last three because we do have to move on to assessment literacy. I'd like to get through that before you go home at 5. So, last 3 items, where were we? Formal assessment, we did that one, yeah?
Alternative assessment.
Informal assessment, unplanned feedback, we did that, yes?
Yes.
And alternative, authentic assessment is the big one. Let's see, Aziz, my friend, where are you?
He's not there. He's missing.
Your friend is out.
He's going to get it.
He's always out, yeah, go ahead.
Alternative authentic
Listen, listen.
assessments other than text, usually more authentic in their evaluation of communication.
Synonym for authentic, what's a synonym?
Realia.
Yeah, not realia,
Yeah,
but
no,
real.
real.
Yeah.
Original.
Original,
So,
yeah, think about it. Authentic assessment is what we do when we aren't giving a test. When we as a teacher are listening to a group of 3 students, are having a conversation in English, and we assess their English. Yeah, we give them a check minus, a check plus, something very, very informal. And it's authentic. Why is it authentic? What makes it authentic? IELTS is not authentic.
Dialect maybe. From the
With
real
the
life.
Communication, they're actually talking to each other. It is not a testing situation. They're talking to each other in a conversation. Or it could be a reading writing, where you write a short note to your friend about what you did over the weekend. You don't tell her in words, talking, you write it. Right? Some teachers have small notebooks, where the student writes each day and he has to get his classmate to answer a question. Written, not spoken. So you can use it for reading, writing as well as speaking, listening. All right, we lost it, and we spent so much time on this. Thank you for doing it.
so, question about formative assessment and the alternate assessment. What are the differences?
What's the difference between informal,
Well, yeah, I mean, formative assessment
formative,
and alternative assessment.
everything? Can't even see it, it's useless.
I'm in close up.
So,
No, I want to see a formative assessment is what he's talking about, and I can't see it.
I got it.
Thank you.
also
Formative,
during the process, we assess the student formative assessment.
yeah, we've got to see alternative and formative. Armin, sorry. Thank you so much. All right, the question is about formative assessment and
Performance-based assessment.
and
And alternative.
alternative. Formative and alternative. How are they alike? How are they different? Look at these vocabulary. They're very, very technical. You got to know the difference. So, alternative and formative. Formative, ongoing assessment. We're going to do a formative first. This is review. Ongoing assessment provides information needed to adjust teaching and learning. All right? That's the focus. I get feedback that means I have to teach different or again. Okay, that's formative. Whereas alternative or authentic, right? Alternative means different. Different kinds. Authentic means listening to a conversation. It means reading a note that a student writes to another student. It's something kind of informal, yeah? So it doesn't really affect my instruction as well. As formative means I change what I teach. Authentic is just getting the data and knowing that the student improved or didn't. But I don't do anything about it.
Formative is like the whole lesson.
Yes,
And
Yes.
alternative is a part of each activity.
yeah, maybe that's a good way to think of it. There's a fabulous book by Collier and, I can see the guy's name, but I can't think of it. Collier is the first author. And it's called Authentic Assessment, and it's packed full. Every page is a different quiz. And you can use those, and it's like that activity we just did back to back, where they're all very interactive. And I can get that reference to you in the Telegram. So alternative and authentic. It means it's a little bit different. Right? The principal would say, please explain to me, why is this an assessment? You're showing me a little notebook, the student wrote a picture and described it in English words. You have to explain that to somebody because it's called alternative. It means a little funky, a little different, a little odd. Right? It's not a list of vocabulary. It's not a worksheet. It's something a little different. Maybe Armin's millions and millions of video. A student has a video that he narrates it. You use it as an assessment tool. Yeah, he makes a video and he puts his voice on the video to make a narration. You can assess him well using that tool, but your principal would say, I don't know how you do, I don't know anything more. Yeah. A little different, alternative. You understand my English?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. I believe you. Almost done. Performance-based assessment is the last one. Belnora. Okay, she says.
Typically involves oral and or written production, open-ended responses, and integrated tasks. Performance-based.
Open-ended response. Technical. Integrated tasks. Technical, you already know task-based. Integrated task means all skills, all knowledge. And oral or written production. No listening, no reading, only productive skills. Speaking and writing.
Open-ended.
Open-ended is something else. Open-ended means that there is no correct answer.
Open-ended.
And good luck with that. I don't think you're ready for it.
There is no correct.
But you've got to be able to assess it and grade it correctly. Yeah, I mean, you need a rubric, which is the discussion tomorrow. We're going to talk about rubric. You are asking all the right questions. Yeah, a lot of vocabulary here. Our last topic today, I think this will be the last topic today. I'm going to go back to these questions before we move on. Before you leave today, not now, at 5 o'clock or 2 minutes before 5, I'm going to scotch tape on the walls these questions which were sent to us by our kind participants who agreed to preview Module 5. And these are the questions that those people presented, which are really brilliant questions. What I'm going to do is put these up for you to write something. So one is, how can we assess students in group work? You can write an idea of an answer if you have one. Or you can write a question that's related to this one, another question, right? So the idea is I want you to use these, I think there's 4. You're going to use these to give us more information so that tomorrow morning, when we start at 9 o'clock sharp, Armin gets no time tomorrow. We are going to start and I'm going to answer your questions. So please help me by putting your comments on these sheets. I'm going to ask Armin to scotch tape those or put them somewhere sort of together, maybe here or here, so you can just jot a note. Okay? Thank you. Before that, we're going to move to our final topic. This topic is assessment literacy. It is way above your job, way above my pay grade. Assessment literacy is huge. Books in libraries as big as this room on this topic. If I say assessment, you know what I mean. We've been talking about it all afternoon. Literacy. What are synonyms for literacy? Proficiency. Knowledge. Skill. Education. Yeah. Assessment literacy is about your ability to read about assessment and to talk about assessment. Assessment literacy is part. We also have other kinds of literacy these days If you look at LinkedIn, anybody use LinkedIn or
LinkedIn.
Facebook
Yeah.
or some of these social media sites? Lots of different literacies, right? One is assessment literacy. How do you assess people to do any number of things? In our case, how do we assess students of English language? But there's assessment of marketing departments in businesses. There's assessments of websites. There's assessment of billions of things, and you find them all over social media. Another literacy today is digital literacy. Digital, yeah. In some universities, they teach a course in digital literacy. It used to be literacy was the ability to read and write. To read your native language and to write in your native language. It used to be that literacy was sometimes considered to be oral literacy. Are you able to tell a story in an intelligent way or in a foreign language? Media literacy. This is something that we should be doing in high schools today, last year, in Uzbekistan and every other country, is teaching kids to use media, to evaluate websites, not to block them, but to teach the kid the skills to use them or ignore them. And in many communities you find that, where teenagers particularly, who are very vulnerable to all kinds of media influences, both positive and negative, in many schools they're teaching kids how to evaluate media, how to use their cognitive abilities to make judgments. Yes, they're growing, they make mistakes. But how are they going to learn to evaluate websites if we don't allow them to look at them? And I'm not saying it should be all open, but I do think that we have to be spending more attention on media literacy. Financial literacy. How do you spend your money? How do you save your money? How do you avoid having somebody steal your money? Right? Cultural literacy. All of these literacies. Today we're talking about assessment literacy. How many of you have heard that term, assessment literacy? Anybody?
What?
How many of you have heard of assessment literacy in your life? Help us
First time.
a little bit?
No.
Yeah. Not many. Guess what? Neither did I until I came to Uzbekistan. I read it in his book. So I wouldn't get too worried about it. It's not the big deal.
I think we didn't heard the terms, but we use them.
Yeah.
We know about.
Yeah.
But
But we don't know what
We didn't know what those.
Yeah, you and me and lots of people, thank you, yes. So in your book, you have some things to read about assessment literacy. And we're going to, I think, complete the day with this activity that's going to involve your looking at the assessment literacy readings in your book. Can you find them? Yeah, but also after that. Yeah. From here, it says page 116, thank you for numbering the pages through 121, 121. Yeah, 116 to 121 are the pages, yeah. So what I'm going to ask you to do now is, I'm going to teach you about assessment literacy in 5 minutes, because I think that's all it's doing. On page 116, you see those 3 slides. And on those slides, I'm going to just help you to know what to highlight, what's important on those slides, that's it. I thought we kept them up. Want to grab those for me? Thank you. Assessment, there's 3 slides called Assessment Literacy Handout, 804 Assessment Literacy Handout. Thank you. So, assessment literacy is really your knowledge about testing and assessment. If you look at your telegram, you're going to see the definition of the difference of, well, the description of the difference between the two. Testing and assessment are different. We talked about that earlier. In the first slide, thank you so much. In the first slide, it says being literate. Being literate. Knowledgeable in assessment, exactly. Being literate, can you read it for me? Just read the whole thing, being literate.
Being literate in assessment means being able to ask and answer readable questions about the tool for assessment, about the appropriateness of the tool being used, and about what is going to happen as a result of assessment. It is about teachers should have simple, correct, and
Measurable.
measurable plan or
Smart, remember smart?
She must be smart on assessing, knowing her learners, his learners, how to assess, whom how to say.
Really?
As we did today, intelligence, learner intelligence she has to choose.
Good, good. Yes, this is about your ability to advocate for your students and for yourself.
It's,
Being assessment literate means being able to ask questions and answer them.
like not focus on just the marks,
Yeah,
but from one to
sure,
five,
sure,
just in different ways.
sure. Looking at it in different ways. And the bit that we talked about before, that you have data, you have numbers. You can prove it with data. This number of students had this score on September 1st on this quiz. On November 1st, they had this higher score. Yeah. Here are the numbers, Mr. Principal. Here are the numbers. That is advocacy. Also, documenting. You can document with those data. You can show that students improve. Not all, but say 80% of them got higher score. You didn't teach to that test. You didn't hire an IELTS tutor. You just taught normal classes using your good knowledge and skills as English teachers from this program. Okay, so being literate in assessment means being able to ask and answer questions about the appropriateness of the tool, right? The test. Is the test appropriate? Is it at the right level? Is it for the right age group? Is the proficiency level make sense? Those are skills that teachers have if they are literate in assessment. And what's going to happen? The kid is going to have to repeat the 4th grade. The kid is going to be humiliated by his teacher or his principal. These are big decisions, and it happens every day. We want to make sure that this test is something we can trust with the decision that's made on the basis of its score. Second, simply put, the know-how and understanding needed to assess students. What do you need to know to assess a student's knowledge and skill in language development? Next one is,
I got it. Oh, no, I don't. Yeah, you gotta press down. The down arrow. I thought I had it. Good.
teachers should be skilled in,
A little bit up.
Yeah.
I got it.
Shahida? So what do you underline there? What would you underline or highlight?
Related to the classroom.
Yeah. Yeah. Choosing and developing assessments. Teachers should do it, not anybody else. Next one, Shahida?
Administrative scoring and interpreting results of assessments.
Yeah. The results of the assessment are administered and scored by teachers, just like Armin and I do with your module assignments. Third,
Using assessment results when making decisions about students' planning and curriculum development.
yep. You use assessment to develop and change curriculum. In too many countries, the textbook is the curriculum. That curriculum should be something that everybody reads and changes and adds to. In a school where I worked, they had a big notebook in the teacher's coffee room. On a table, a big notebook. On every page of the notebook is a page of the curriculum. Teachers go to take their coffee, And they say, you know what, we've got to change that. On page 74, that thing about the letter writing assignment, it doesn't work. Teachers write a note on the piece of paper, on the curriculum. Then, in May or June, the curriculum committee meets, they take this book, they go to a meeting like this at a table, they open it. Whatever's in that book is what they change. It's not a top-down process, it's a flat hierarchy. The teachers are making the input into the curriculum. And it goes to the printer and they do it again. The next year, they have the new curriculum and they do the same thing again. And they change it again and again. It's a living, breathing, growing piece of literature. It is not a textbook and it's not something that sits on a shelf collecting dust. It's sitting in the middle of the coffee room, which is the most powerful place for teachers to have something. Next one. Valid grading procedures. Grading is so important, right? Grading. You know how important grades are. And that's international, it's not here only. Next one. Communicating assessment results to students and others. Who are others? We know who the students are. Parents? Who else asks you for your test scores? Friends. Your friends ask you for your test scores?
Higher administration.
Maybe we will share our opinion, what we have today.
You mean colleagues?
Colleagues.
Yeah.
It's like
Sure.
friends for kids.
Higher administration.
Higher administration wants to see some test scores, usually.
When they monitor.
Monitor. Yeah. Good. Next one.
Organizing identical, illegible, or inappropriate assessments and the use of assessment information.
And unethical.
Really important. Collecting unethical, illegal, inappropriate assessments.
So, that's
Do you know about this problem sometimes in some countries where children are asked to do things that they shouldn't have to do on a test?
For example?
For example, the test is too hard. It's too long. It's too short. The language is brand new. The kid never saw the words on the test. Happens all the time. These are the kinds of mistakes that you want to avoid, and I believe they are a low priority in Uzbekistan. I believe that you don't have this problem like you do in some countries. You do have, okay.
So we, for example, most tests are based on one type testing.
One test.
Only
Yeah,
grammar.
only grammar.
Yeah, and it's great.
Grammar.
That's which,
No, you guys need to do something about that.
Sometimes it's very difficult for teachers also, because even we are reading more grammar books,
Yeah.
let's suggest
maybe it's going to change.
Inshallah.
Maybe that's why.
I hope so.
Good chance for us.
One more slide. I know you're getting bored. Thank you for your patience. And then we're done. We want you to leave here knowing this stuff. It's passive knowledge now. When we get a chance to put our ideas on these papers, maybe it'll become more active. Tomorrow, we'll be engaging in some activities to help you. We need one more reader, volunteer. Anybody want to read? Yeah, sure. Shahzad. Yeah. I just can't talk. Go.
So,
Assessment literate teachers know.
what they are assessing?
What?
They are assessing.
Yes. What are they assessing? What's the answer? What are they assessing?
Knowledge.
Knowledge, ability.
Knowledge is in my head. You don't know what's in my head. Learning. You don't know what I learned.
Assessing, giving mark.
What is it I do
You should assess output.
when I test someone? Yes, I hear him.
Adapting your explained materials into real life. We assess those things.
That's getting
How
there.
our students adapt the things we explain them or work during the class. Apply.
Okay, what?
They grow, or
Teachers need to know what they are assessing. Do you know what you're assessing?
Yes.
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 What are you assessing?
students knowledge.
Knowledge about
What we
accuracy, maybe fluency. Now you're getting there. Remember earlier we talked about with grammar, form, meaning, and use. And you have, in all of those, you have knowledge, you have skills, you have habits. So you're actually, when you think about literacy of teachers, what are you assessing? It's the student's ability to use English. To use English. In order to use English, you have to have knowledge, you have to have learned something, you have to have skills, but at the end of the day, it's the use of English. That is what we assess in English language teaching, not knowledge about English. No way.
Use.
Yeah, they gotta be able to use it. Okay, they can recite to you the rule of use of past perfect continuous. It doesn't matter if they can tell you the rule or not. They need to use the rule. Yeah. Next.
So why they are doing so?
Okay, assessment literate teachers know why are they doing the assessment. Yeah, why do you make this kid sit in a chair for an hour and take this test? You know why? That's important for you to know.
There may be different purposes.
We don't know. We need to know. That's all I'm saying. I don't, the purpose is A, B, or C, but that is the teacher's responsibility to know the purpose. Good. Third one.
Assessment literate teachers need to know which tools to use.
Which tools to use to teach and to assess. Both. And next.
Assessment literate teachers need to know how to provide appropriate feedback.
So the test is not the end of the story. Handing the student the grade is not the end of the story. You know that I've sat with you, many of you, all of you, I've sat with you and shown you your paper and talked to you about the content of your writing. So the student has got to get feedback on his grade. It's not just look at the grade and then complain because the grade's not high enough. Yeah, that's not the way it works. The idea is that you learn from your grade, from the test itself. Next one.
Assessment literate teachers need to know what can go wrong and how to prevent these problems.
Things go wrong. COVID. The internet goes down. This is life, right? And that's part of the teacher's job, is to cope with all of these unexpected things that have happened to us in the last 2 years. Any questions about assessment literate teachers? Yeah.
It's hard to evaluate students, when after, for example, after the lessons, we assess them, yes? Maybe we can give different tests of like multiple choices, yes?
Sure.
When we pick up them, it's hard to check one by one.
Yeah.
It takes too much time.
It does take too much time.
Stress.
Yes. Stress, full of stress.
Full of stress. Testing means stress.
Yes.
And it shouldn't. It shouldn't. Because we know that stress reduces performance, reduces achievement.
Yes.
And so the less stress, the less affective filter, those emotional factors, the better. There's always going to be some. You call it a test, already the stress goes up. But it doesn't have to go up over and make you drown in it. It can go up a little bit. And we want to try to help the student to have the least stress possible. Did we finish?
No.
Oh.
Assessment literate teachers need to know excellent knowledge of the content.
Excellent knowledge on the content. Yeah. Teachers have to know English, right? I'll tell you, your English writing has many errors. It doesn't mean you don't know. I think you do know. But it is possible for you to comfort yourself, to feel better about yourself, because your English itself has weaknesses in it. You are a non-native English speaker. That means that you have English that's more like your student than it is mine. And that's not a bad thing, it's a good thing. you understand your students' problems better than I do, or Armin would. Because you've had them too. This is the reality. I strongly support non-native English speaking teachers in their efforts to teach English to students, especially those whose language they speak too. You understand them better than I do. I think I'm a good teacher. I think I'm a good teacher trainer. But I think I do better with students who are more like me. You do better with students who are more like you, which is your students. Yeah. And I invite you to really make a list of those, especially when you're tired at 4:30 on Tuesday afternoon. These are things that you bring to the table, as it were, that your students have from you that they would not get from anybody else. So I'm very grateful to you for teaching your students. Okay, you now have a good idea about kind of the myths of assessment. You also know what teachers need to know in order to be good assessment experts, assessment literate teachers. I can't even say it, it's so hard to say. Any questions or comments at this time? I talked a lot, I talk too much. What comments might you have about assessment at this time?
Not comments, but I would like to ask you, if I'm teaching my students for these skills on formal letters, but some of them doesn't know how to write it even in Uzbek.
Yeah.
So just I'm identifying some of them know formal letters, and some of them mix formal and semi-formal, informal, but 2 or 3 of them doesn't know about it. So what is my role on assessing my students?
It's a good question.
Yeah, really good.
The first is to teach them, and your colleague says differentiate, I'll just
Bless you, stop pulling.
Thank you, I'm sorry. The first thing is to find them models that you think are good ones for them. 2 or 3 models is enough. Differentiating, say some more. Somebody said something, yeah.
So differentiate, you can ask the ones to write more easy, begin more informal letters, then try to formal. Because to write informal letter is much more easy. And then the next step, you can just give them others letters to read them, yes? See them, like write a sample. Mostly samples are very good way how to teach them to write models. Yes. It's my opinion.
Very nice idea.
Yeah.
Good question, good answer. Now, tomorrow, our first thing in the morning, I'm not going to do it now because you're too tired, but tomorrow morning, I'm going to give you like Post-it, those small papers, and you are going to write in a very quick time many different ideas for assessment. So one might be vocabulary quiz, and you put the Post-it note, and the next one would be drill for verb tense. Next one is true false questions. Next one, and many. We're going to create a kind of wall of assessment tools. And then we're going to talk about how to categorize those. You know, it's the idea that some of them are more controlled, some are semi-controlled or moderately controlled, just like the activities we did earlier in this program. And the last is free. Right, so testing is the same. You already have a framework in your intellectual, the cognitive, for this idea. You don't have to do it now, but tomorrow we're going to do a lot of work with helping you to see there are many ways of skinning a cat or giving an assessment. Last thing is, I want you to, I kind of wish I had more than one copy of each of these. Do you still have this? Could we make maybe 2 or 3 more copies?
Yeah.
This is a great tool. Armin and I like the way you manage the KWL, know, want, and learn. So what I'd like you to do is I'm going to ask him, he's going to make one for each table. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tables.
You mean one set?
one set for each of 5 tables, yeah. And I think what we'll do is ask you to just start now and finish as many as you can to fill up these papers. So one is, how can we assess student in group work? Yeah, just sit where you are. Do you need a physical break?
Yes.
You do?
Yes.
All right, let's do that now. We'll do a physical break now. Who's gonna lead us for exercise? Okay, how would you like to do it? Somebody new. You like the video? All right. Here we go. We like this one. We like that guy. He's so cute.
YMCA?
Bubble.
YMCA? Bubble?
Bubble man.
Dale.
He's so.
YMCA. Maybe YMCA. Party rock. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. You know this one?
Here we go. Let's see.
I'll do it. So Liz, if there's 5 tables, you want 5 sets of 5?